Hello everyone, thank you for attending this webinar, the International Student and Undergraduate Admissions webinar that we're hosting, the first of hopefully many as the year goes on. So let me start by introducing myself. I'm Chan. I work at the International Relations Office at Sabancı University. I'm the office manager. I am joined today by two of my colleagues, İrem and Hasan Tahsin Çetin. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves real quick?
Hi everyone, my name is Hassan. I am the international office member. I am responsible for marketing and recruitment. If you have any question, just feel free to ask. Probably after we finish the presentation, we will start to answer all your questions. Hopefully you will find all your answers during the presentation. Enjoy.
I'm Irem, and I'm also working at the International Relations Office, and it's so nice to see you here, and hope you'll enjoy.
Thank you so much. So before we get going, let me just very quickly talk about the structure of today's session. So we're going to have a presentation. I'm going to talk about the university and give you a couple of details, answer some of the questions that you might have. After that presentation, we're going to do a Q&A. Of like verbal Q&A. But in the meantime, there's the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, so you can ask any question that you have there. We'll try and answer them as the presentation goes on. Some of them we might choose to answer afterwards as well. So feel free to, submit your questions as we continue on. Though, of course, we mostly will cover a lot of major subjects that might be on your mind during the presentation itself. So focus on that too. So without further ado, let me share my screen and let's get started. So give me just 1 second. Okay. I think it should be all right now. Cool. So let me get started. So, of course, we're here to talk about Sabancı University. First of all, our location. We're located in Istanbul on the Asian side, a little bit outside the city center. We will discuss the location and our campus later on as well when we move forward. Before we get to talking about the university itself, let's talk about where the university gets its name. So Sabancı University is owned by the Sabancı family. They are also the owners of one of the largest group of companies in Turkey. You can see a variety of different businesses that they're involved in the country itself, ranging from the automotive sector to technology to retail to construction and so on and so forth. To give a good sense of their impact, they are the main electricity provider for the city of Istanbul, just to give a sense. So they're a very, very influential company and a family in the country. The university is a nonprofit philanthropy project that they started over 25 years ago at this point. And of course, having this backing gives us a lot of advantages when it comes to funding, but also with regards to internships and career opportunities, which benefit our students. So it is something we're quite obviously happy about. Moving forward, let's talk a little bit about some facts and figures. We are on the 25th year now. We're celebrating our 25th year at this point in the university. We are one of the highest ranking universities in Turkey. We will talk about rankings as we move on. Every single program that we have is in English. We have 11 programs, which we will detail in a little while, but all of them are taught entirely in English. We are a small university when it comes to student population. We only have around 5,000 students, which in Turkey is quite minimal. Around 12% of those students are international at the moment, coming from around 60 different countries. The faculty and student ratio at Sabancı is quite low, which means that the class sizes are quite small, which allows a lot of interaction with professors and so on. We boast the highest employment rate of all private universities in Turkey as of right now, at 95% employment, which is of course something that we're quite proud of as well. And we will talk further on about our scholarship opportunities as we continue. So these are the faculties of programs that we have. We only have 3 faculties and 11 programs in total. In the Faculty of Engineering and Natural Sciences, we have the Computer Science program, Industrial Engineering, Electronics, Mechatronics, Material Science, and Molecular Biology. On the Arts and Social Sciences faculty, we have Economics, Political Science, Visual Arts, and Psychology. And then on the Business School, we have the Business program itself. You can do double majors in any combinations between these programs. You can also see the minor programs that we have listed on the right side. So you can do one of those minors as well, again, completely without any kind of limitations with regards to the program or with regards to the faculty. So you really have a lot of freedom in choosing your own educational path at Sabancı. And of course, all of these are free of charge. But that freedom is strengthened further by our education model. You can see that we have what is commonly known as the core curriculum system in the US. It is basically a system in which you do not actually start the university enrolled on a specific program. We don't accept students to one program, we accept students to the university instead. So when you begin your studies at Sabancı University in the first year, you'll be taking shared courses alongside everybody else. So if you, for example, wanted to study computer science and your friend wanted to study psychology, you would both be studying the exact same courses at Sabancı in the first year. And then you have the freedom to choose the program you want to study once you finish that first year. When you're choosing that program, you have absolute freedom. There are no limitations, no requirements, no quotas. So you can study any one of the programs that you have available to you, regardless of the faculty, regardless of your past education. There's no limits at all. Which of course allows you, a lot of flexibility. But in addition to that, you can also use the second year to experiment. So you can take courses, for example, again, same example, you can take both computer science and psychology at the same time, see which one you actually enjoy more. And then if you, for example, really disliked psychology, you were expecting it to be something else, you can drop it and continue on with the computer science without really harming your education. So it gives you much more flexibility in deciding what to study. It gives you an extra year, and it gives you a lot of time to, prepare, to experiment, to actually experience what it is like to study the program before you make this choice. Around 40% of our students take advantage of the system, which is something, again, that sort of speaks to its strengths. So we're quite happy about the system itself. We mentioned the first year classes, the core curriculum classes. You can see them listed in your screen. The ones on the left side are the core curriculum classes in the first year, or throughout the education, I should say, because some of them are in the latter years as well. Calculus, science and nature, humanity and society. These are first year courses, computational approaches to problem solving. This is a coding program. Every single student at Sabancı University takes these classes. There are also artistry classes, which are major work courses. You take those as electives, so you don't take all of the listed ones that you see in the screen at the moment. You just take 2 or 1. But this is how the core curriculum system works, basically. Before it allows you, again, let me just go back a little, before it allows you to choose any one of these programs that we have. So regardless of the program that you apply to, you will be able to choose to study any single one of these. Moving forward, Sabancı University is a research university, first and foremost. Research is a unavoidable part of life at Sabancı. So during your study period, you will be taking quite a lot of your classes actually directly in laboratories and in relation to active research centers, research projects. There's a lot of different research centers and different aspects, different programs of the university, ranging from psychology research to finance to sciences, of course. So every single program has a very, very strong research impact, which you can see one example of here. So Sunum is one of our many research centers. It is the Nanotechnology Research Center, which is located right on our campus, the building that you're seeing. It is built in cooperation with the Turkish government. It is one of 4 infrastructure investments made in the entire country, and it is located right in our own campus itself. It is an incredibly cutting-edge research center. Just to give you a sense, they were, doing research collaborations with Harvard Medical School up until recent memory with, based on cancer research. Prior to that, they had a very interesting project which always inspired me, which was 3D printing human organs using tissue grown inside the university itself. So when we say cutting edge research, we actually mean very, very significantly cutting edge research. To, again, give you a sense of the research impact of the university, which of course reflects into our rankings. So we are the highest ranking university in Turkey at the moment at 350 to 400th in the world, in the Times Higher Education's World University Rankings. We share this spot with 2 other universities. We are also among the world's best small universities ranking. We're also number 1, and we're the 27th best small university in the entire world. That is universities that have student numbers close to or below 5,000. Which again speaks to sort of our strength. At the bottom of your screens, you can see our business school ranking. Our business school is ranked 68th among all universities in Europe. And you can see in the next slide rankings about our other programs. So our social sciences faculty, for example, is ranked 176 to 200 in the world, which again makes it the highest ranking social sciences faculty in Turkey. And engineering faculty is ranked 250 to 300, again making it one of the highest ranking university faculties in Turkey. So this is the one advantage that Sabancı University has, while with universities that have tons of programs, you occasionally run into the situation in which a singular program is much higher ranked than others. At Sabancı, this is not really the case. Every single faculty is ranked very high. Every single program is very, very prestigious. So the program selection system that we discussed earlier is an actual decision that you have to make because all of the programs are worthwhile. So regardless of whichever one you choose, you will have the opportunity to graduate from a very, very highly ranking program globally. Let's talk a little bit about other aspects of university life at Sabancı. So exchange programs. For those of you who might not be aware of what exchange means at the university level, basically when you're studying in university, you can spend 6 months to a year of your education at a different partner university without paying any extra cost. So we have around 280 partners all over the world. You can see some of them listed on your screens. Most of them are ranked higher than we are. And since, of course, we ourselves are ranked quite high, this means that there are some universities which are in the top 10, top 20 universities of the world. And you can continue your education for up to a year in one of these institutions. Sabancı University is one of 2 universities in Turkey that also funds this system globally. So if you, for example, wanted to go, and one of our partners is Columbia University, for example, in New York. So if you wanted to go and study for a year in New York during your study period at Sabancı, the university will be funding your plane tickets. It will be funding your day-to-day expenses. So you can do this without any kind of extra financial cost, getting an even better education, even better international experience. So it is something that we, highly emphasize and suggest. And we have a very, very wide network of partners across the world, so you can do this practically wherever you might consider education to be strong, including the US, Canada, practically anywhere in Europe, UK, South Africa, Brazil, Australia, Japan, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of different options, so you can choose your heart's content and hopefully get an even better experience during your study life. Internships are mandatory at Sabancı University. So of course we do assist students with finding internships. We have a very active career development office, and it is quite common that companies themselves recruit directly from our own campus. So the university really has very, very good recognition in that regard, which of course ties into the aforementioned placement numbers that we discussed. On the right side of your screen, you can see 95% of our graduates find either postgraduate or professional employment within a year of their graduation, which is the highest, employability percentage of all universities in Turkey. You can see some countries that our alumni have been going to in recent years. Of course, majority remain in Turkey, but there are increasing numbers that find employment in Europe and North America as well. And you might be interested in seeing some of the postgraduate destinations that our graduates go to. So one aspect of Sabancı, beyond the ranking and so on, is a lot of the faculty of the universities and professors in the university are professors who have either worked in or graduated from top universities in the world. So when we talk about top universities, we mean like top 10, top 20. So Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, and so on and so forth. So the university has a lot of, relationships, good research collaboration and so on with some of these universities, which of course makes it quite possible for our graduates to continue their studies, postgraduate studies in top institutions like this, using that existing network and the university's own recognition. So almost yearly, we send students to top universities across the globe. So you can see some, numbers of alumni that are studying at top universities, which is again a good way of looking at studying at highly ranking universities in Turkey. This idea of using universities like Sabancı as a stepping stone. So, you might not at this point be able to, for example, find an admission at Harvard, but using Sabancı University's education, recognition, and research collaborations, you could one day, after your undergraduate studies, reach even greater heights. So that is something that we really like to encourage, of course. And that kind of attitude continues on to professional careers as well. So you can once again see some companies that our graduates are working in. And when we, for example, talk about, these companies, of course, some of them are located in Turkey, but when we discuss Google, for example, you can see on the bottom left as well, we're not talking about like data centers in Istanbul or something. We're talking about headquarters in the Silicon Valley in California. So in a lot of cases, we have alumni working in top institutions in the world, and we do try to make sure that our alumni network is actively, in contact with our students. So during your study period, you will have opportunities to, discuss with alumni, to get in touch with them, to sort of learn the path that they themselves followed, to hopefully one day follow in their own footsteps and reach similar heights yourself. So again, something that we like to emphasize quite a lot. The campus, you can see a picture of our lake and our performing arts center and our sports center at the moment. So we have one of the largest campuses in Turkey, especially when you consider the number of students that we have, and one of the greenest campuses as well, which is quite active as the year goes on, with lots of events, sport clubs, student clubs doing various different activities. So it's a quite, entertaining, quite lively place. And we discussed how it was outside the city center, of course. But it is important to sort of emphasize that the university is built like a mini city. So we have around 11 different cafeterias and cafes, restaurants on campus, including, of course, our main cafeteria, which again is what you're seeing right now. But beyond that, any kind of amenity that you might expect to find in a university is available right on campus within walking distance of our dormitories. This includes a library and sports center, a health center, a bank, a hairdresser, a movie hall, a bookstore, and so on and so forth. So you really can find everything that you need in your day-to-day life very easily in a very safe and secure environment. And of course, we do have a shuttle network that connects to the city itself. So if you ever want to go to Istanbul, we have very, very cheap, travel opportunities from directly on campus shuttles that are only for Sabancı University students that can take you to and from Istanbul itself. So it really is quite simple and quite easy to travel around as well. So, we do provide a very sort of comfortable accommodation experience. Let's take a small break here for a moment when we're talking about the campus to discuss the summer high school very quick. So every year we have a high school program. The applications for this year are opening these days. Actually, I think they have opened, in fact. So the summer high school is basically a 2 to 3 week university life role playing system, let's say. You come to the university, you stay in the dormitories, you take classes that you yourself choose from a pool of around 20 different classes. There's a lot of activities, there's Istanbul tours and parties and concerts and so on, and it is all very, very affordable, especially when you convert it to the dollar exchange rate. So if you're ever interested in doing a small vacation in summer in Istanbul, I can tell you quite honestly that this is the cheapest, easiest way to do it. So you can give it a look if you're ever interested in seeing what life studying at Sabancı might be like. Moving on, accommodation. We discussed, as I said, how our dormitories are right in walking distance of our campus. So you're seeing the dormitories at the moment, all those red roofs buildings that you see at the bottom of your screen, those are our dormitories. We have the highest capacity of dorm rooms available to the student body among all Turkish universities. There are 3 different room types, 2, 3, and 4 person. Which of course, correspond to different fees, which you can see on the right side. Approximately the fee tends to be somewhere around $3,000 per academic year, of course. And the rooms themselves are, quite comfortable. Again, they have all the amenities that you might expect, including, Wi-Fi's and kitchen and common rooms and so on and so forth. So quite a comfortable place to be in. There is also a scholarship for the dormitories themselves, which can cover their cost for your entire education. Sorry, the headphones decided to close on me for a second. So if you get the scholarship for the dormitories, then you can stay into the dormitories without paying any fee for the accommodation as well, which, of course, is quite beneficial. All that said, how to apply. Our applications are open at the moment. They'll be continuing until the end of August. It is quite simple to apply to Sabancı University. All the forms are online. You can just go on our website. We don't really require any kind of external exams. You don't have to have a language exam score. You don't have to have an exam like the SAT. In most cases, you can apply with your high school grades. The application do have an application fee, but we do try and assist students in cases in which that application fee might be too limiting to give you a sense of what the application result would be if you were to apply. We'll share our contact information later on. So if you are curious, you can always just send us your documents and we can try and guide you more accurately that way too. But as I said, the system is quite simple. We do accept national and international systems from all over the globe. In your screen at the moment on the top right, so you can see the QR code for application requirement list, which is quite extensive. So you can just follow that list, which you can find directly again on our website to see the various exams and systems that we do accept students through. But as I said, it is quite an easy process. After which you apply, there's an evaluation period which can take up to 4 to 5 weeks. Then when you get your offer, you have to make a prepayment, and then you get accepted to the university, basically. And all that said, the question on everybody's mind, the tuition fee and scholarship. So as the highest ranking university in the country, we also are unfortunately the most expensive university in Turkey. Our tuition fee is $24,500 per academic year at this point. But we do provide scholarships ranging from partial scholarships all the way up to full scholarships. So we have 25, 40, 50, 60, 75, and 100% tuition reduction scholarship, as well as the aforementioned dormitory scholarships, which are for the 3 and 4 person rooms. We evaluate every single student for a scholarship. So it is basically, there's not like an additional application form. You just, if you apply, you will be evaluated for a scholarship as well. We do consider financial needs, but of course, academic merit is a criteria. But this doesn't mean that it is the only criteria. We also look at extracurricular activities, which are, letters of recommendation, certificates that you might have for any session that you've attended, anything that you might have done outside of your classes, a well-written statement of purpose, a nicely prepared CV. All of these things can help increase your scholarship chances. And one other important factor is that we do also do reevaluations for scholarships as the year goes on. So you might apply, for example, right now with the scores that you have, but once you graduate from your high school in, late May and June, you can submit your final transcripts and we can try and reevaluate you for a scholarship once again. So there is a possibility to get an even better offer as the year goes on. So applying early is a good idea. And what we would like to say is just don't get disheartened by the tuition fee. Our global scholarship average tends to be somewhere around 40%. So it is not impossible to get a, financial aid from the university, but of course, your grades do have to, be high, especially if you're aiming for our top level scholarships at 75 and 100%, at which level we do generally suggest taking the SAT just to be able to compete. But in most cases, this is not also mandatory. There are, systems that we give high scholarships to even without the SAT. But that is it in general. So you can find our contact information at your screens at the moment. Our email addresses and our social media in which we're quite active. So you can follow us on various social media channels, on Instagram, on YouTube, and so on to hear more about the university. And you can also contact us from the contact information that you find on the website, on the top right side, on Ask Us, or on the numbers and emails on the top left side. So thank you very much for listening. Let me stop sharing my screen now, and we can get started with the question and answer session.
Yes, Sean, thank you so much for your very detailed presentation, first of all. And let's get started with the questions. The first question is from Sajada Ahmed. The possibility of obtaining conditional academic acceptance with 1 year language study. And the second question, how long it takes to issue conditional academic acceptance after applying, as I need it before April. And the other question, whether I can obtain university housing during my language and academic study.
So thank you, Sajida, for your questions. So I am a little curious what you might mean by the language study aspect, but I'll quickly detail things very quickly. So we do, of course, offer conditional academic acceptances. You do not have to have graduated to be able to get an evaluation from the university. Under certain systems, we are able to give conditional offers to students. So you can try and apply. You can send your documents to us on the email addresses that we have shared earlier too. And we can guide you about whether you can get a conditional acceptance or not. This conditional acceptance, if you applied now, most likely would be out before April or very close to the end of this month if you haven't applied earlier. And we do give university housing for every student, of course. That said, if by language study you mean like a 1 year language program in which you only learn the language and you don't study the university's regular program, I should mention that we don't have short-term programs at Sabancı. It is only possible to study for a full 4 years degree, in which 1 year at the beginning could be language studies, but it can't only be language study, if you sort of see what I mean. So depending on your program interest, it might not be possible, unfortunately.
Okay, the next question, can you take music as a minor program? Sinan Salman is asking.
I believe there is no musical program at the university as a minor. There is there are clubs, etc., of course, that can help you with those. We have a very active music club and so on, and of course, like other training sessions for various musical instruments and so on in the university, as well as a lot of art courses which you can take, which again touch a lot of art history, so music in that regard. But there is not really a minor on music, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. The next question from Zarman Ali Awan. Can you work alongside studying at Sabancı?
So Zarman, you can. There are multiple ways in which you can do that. So we do employ students as sort of part-time employees, let's say in the university itself. So you can work in, for example, the International Relations Office or the library, or as a teaching assistant in first-year courses and so on, which is quite frequent. You can also, after your first year, apply for a work permit in Turkey, but that is a much different process, and getting it is not always easy. But it is also possible to get this work permit and then work outside the university, again, partially, of course, not full-time. Like part-time employment is possible like this. But there are ways of doing so. One important thing to detail there, however, is to keep in mind that the tuition fee for Sabancı is in dollars, and you would be earning any kind of fee that you earn while working as in Turkish liras. So you should realize that it is not really possible to work and fund the study in most cases. You can work and sort of, earn pocket money, some change to cover food costs and stuff like that. But that is the extent that it would reach, unfortunately.
Okay, the next question from Nihat Rahimzadeh. So if I was accepted by the engineering faculty, I learned the general knowledge of the engineering in the first year, and then I will be able to choose a specific field for my further undergrad studies. Is that right?
So thank you, Nihat, for the question. This is actually sort of right. So it's not entirely right, but it is somewhat correct. So the core curriculum classes, if we remember when we discussed them, include, calculus, they include natural sciences, they include coding. These are quite fundamental to pretty much every engineering program. Like if you studied engineering in different universities in Turkey, you would actually be taking these mostly in the first year. Because natural sciences is basically like, physics and so on. Calculus, of course, is calculus and advanced math, and coding is just, entry into coding, with some simple language, like programming ideas. So basically, you take these programs in the core curriculum in the first year to give you a good foundation to choose any one of our programs, not only the engineering degree, but if you want to study, for example, psychology, it also gives you a good foundation to do that. That's the theory. So when you choose the engineering program in the second year, there will be some courses that you take, for example, like thermodynamics, which again, you would be taking as a first year in any engineering program usually. You would in Sabancı take this in the second year in most cases. But some of the first year first year core curriculum courses are also quite related to engineering studies. So that is somewhat correct.
Great. Next question from Meba Hapte. Meba is asking, what materials are required to apply as well as recommended ones?
So we basically need some form of ID, a photograph, and in general cases, your high school documents, your transcripts. These are the main requirements that we have. Uh, of course, recommended ones can go further into, letters of recommendation, a statement of purpose, a CV, and so on and so forth. Depending on the system that you're studying under, there might be predicted exams, predicted grades that are given to you by your school. You might have taken the SAT, so outside exams like that could strengthen your chances. But the simple requirements are, the photo, the passport, and high school documents. Anything else can support you.
Great. The next question from Anka Noor. Do you have any application fee for the application? And further, from Pakistani high school students applying for undergrad, do you require English certification?
Very good question. So there is an application fee. I imagine I probably said this in the presentation after the question came out. So the application fee is $30, but once again, towards the end of this, we will share our contact information once more. You can actually, let me share that as I speak in the meantime. You can send your documents over to us, and we can in some cases try and let you know what kind of offer you would get if you were to apply. So if you're worried about the application fee, wait a second. I think I'm not showing the right screen. So if you're worried about the application fee, you can always just email the documents to us and we can try and guide you. What was the other question, real quick? There was another question.
Just let me find and tell you.
Documents, application fee, and
And for
The Pakistan language thing, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, we do not accept high school students from Pakistan as, or high school study in Pakistan as sufficient for English exam exemption. The reason for this is because Pakistan students have failed our English exam in the past. So as a result, the university requires the students to either take our own exam or to provide an exemption document of some sort. One thing to detail there, however, is that you don't have to have an English exam when you're applying. It is not a part of admission at Sabancı University to have language exam scores. So you can apply without any kind of score, any kind of exemption requirement. And then if you get accepted, at that point you can make the decision of going to take the TOEFL, for example, which is the primary exam that we accept, which can guide you further on. So you don't have to worry about the exemption when you're applying. You can, by the way, again, for document sending and for any questions, you can see our email on the screen on the top left. So you can contact us from there. I'll be sharing this later on as well.
The next question from Ahmet Usman, one of the most popular question. Do you offer fully funded undergraduate scholarship?
Yes, of course, a very popular question. So thank you, Ahmed, for the question. So we do offer fully funded undergraduate scholarships. The evaluation for this is going to be done at the end of the year in probably July, possibly late July to early August. So we will shortlist candidates as the application goes on, and then we will try and make the decisions at that stage. I should mention that our fully funded scholarships are very, very competitive because we get some very strong applications every year. At that stage, the SAT is practically mandatory, and you will need very, very high marks, close to at least around 85% total success from the SAT itself, which is, something around like 1450. In most cases, higher scores than that, and almost full marks from your high school education. So the competition is very, very, very, very high, but there is a possibility for getting a full scholarship from the university.
Thank you. The next question from Wizam Al Hussein. Hello, can I use Cambridge test to skip the English prep courses?
So by Cambridge test, Wissam, I'm imagining you mean O levels or A levels, in which case, no. If you're talking about the CAE, the Cambridge English test, then unfortunately they also don't accept that one. At the moment, our English school accepts TOEFL and PTE for exemption.
Okay.
TOEFL
Great.
would be our recommendation. I should underline that.
Yes. The next question from Amina Islam. Is there any guest room for parents of the students to stay in on campus, I guess?
Hello, Amna. Thank you for the question. So yes, there is a hotel on campus, but this hotel is used for professional training as well, which means that frequently it is fully booked by companies that are taking education of some form in the university itself. So if you are interested in having your parents stay over, you should ask well in advance, like more than a month or so, at least. And we can try and assist you, but just so you know that it is frequent that it is fully booked.
Great. The next question from Halima Gaza. I'm wondering about conditions for obtaining academic admission.
So this changes from system to system, Halima. Thank you for the question. We accept like lots of different high school grades after different international, systems such as the IB, the GCE, American High School Education, French Baccalaureate, and so on and so forth. So getting admission is generally possible through one of those systems. The average grades change, but you can consider somewhere around 70 to 80% to be the base level that we accept across most of these systems. So if you have a grade that is higher than that, then you would be eligible for admission, I should say. But of course, scholarships and actual admission are a different question sometimes.
Right. The next question from Meba Habde. What should the statement of purpose include?
Meba, my suggestion on that front would be just literally Google this. Like it might sound a little dismissive actually, but this is a very good advice because online you can find a ton of very, very well prepared guides from top universities in the world, including at one point Harvard had a statement of purpose guide on its own website. So you can go and find a very, very detailed guide on how to write a statement of purpose. Generally, the university is interested in, learning about why you want to study at the university, why you want to study the program that you're choosing, why you want to study at that country, and then your own strengths. So, like, those are the main pillars, let's say. But you can find very good guides for this online. So, my recommendation, just Google this. It's very simple, usually just up to maybe 1.5 pages at undergraduate level, so it doesn't have to be anything, extremely detailed. You can, sort it out quite simply, I'm sure.
Okay. The next question from Fatima Zehra Tahim. I am a private candidate doing A-levels, so how am I supposed to give school transcripts?
So that's a good question. So you don't actually have to give school transcripts. You can just give your O levels and A levels in that kind of case. However, you should know that there is at this point a legal requirement to study in Turkish universities. There's a document called the equivalency certificate, which basically shows that you are getting an education that is the same as a Turkish high school graduate. Getting this document, unfortunately, requires application to the Ministry of Education and so on, who decides the requirements here. And for private A-level candidates, they have in the past created some issues. They prefer A-levels to be from schools. So if all of your A-levels are from a private, as a private candidate, you might face some issues registering to the university. My suggestion would be to email us for further detail, and we can try and guide you, and we can go through your documents and see how possible it might be to, further the process.
Okay, the next question from MD Abdul Malik. I have no English language course, but I can talk in writing, listening in English. My school or college English medium can apply.
Yes,
It's your replied question.
yeah, you can apply, Mohammed Abdul, perfectly fine, no problem. We do have our own English, let's say, program in the university, the School of Languages. So the first year, in cases in which students do not pass the English exam, you can take English courses there directly. So even if your English is not too strong to pass our English exemption, you can get admission and then study English at the university before moving on to your program. So it's entirely possible to apply even without, English documentation of any sort.
Great. The next question from Mary Iskaldi. Is it possible to skip the foundation year?
No, sadly. Thank you for the question, Mary. So the foundation year in Sabancı, the terminology is like foundation, but it is not like the foundation systems that you have in the UK. So this is not really sort of like an optional year in which you're not really accepted to the university, you're accepted to something else. This is still the full-on education period, like the bachelor program, let's say. So it's a 4-year program's first year. So it is not really a separate thing. You have to take that core curriculum classes. You have to pass that year to be able to move into the second year in which you choose your course. So don't think of it as a sort of additional year in which you take extra courses that are unnecessary. It is the way that the education system is structured at Sabancı University, and it doesn't extend the education duration.
Okay. The next question lines from Golam Mustafa. Let's go over the question
Oh my
one by
God,
one.
11 questions.
Yes, I guess we already covered many of them, but let's get started with the first question. Are there many quotes of 100% scholarship left at present?
Yes, because we will do evaluations later on, as we discussed earlier, in July.
Second question, is the scope of scholarship during study also applicable to international students?
Of course, exactly. This is actually everything we've discussed so far for scholarships are only applicable to international students.
The third question, there is a scope of monthly financial aid as written on the website. How does it work?
So the monthly financial aid is most likely for graduate programs, Golam. On undergraduate level, we don't have a monthly financial aid. We have the tuition reduction and accommodation scholarships that we discussed earlier.
Fourth question, the scholarship opportunities during study are applicable to all. Then how are the recipient determined? A person having a computer science major has a more difficult curriculum than someone in international relationship. Therefore, how are both evaluated for scholarships?
So this is, for the admission side, we of course look at your high school grades, but if you're asking more about the scholarships that apply to students who are studying at the university, then we do actually take this into consideration. Um, and you would be surprised to find actually that in most cases, students have higher GPA averages in difficult curriculums because sometimes more, students who are more used to that kind of curriculum choose those programs. So don't worry about the curriculum differences. We do keep that into consideration to make sure that the scholarships are distributed equally. But in most cases, it is not even we don't even have to sort of influence that decision at all.
Okay, the question 5, if I get the dormitory fee, what will be the minimum cost for food and books?
So we generally say that the average living expense for the entire year at Sabancı is somewhere around $6,000 to $7,000, including the accommodation. So if you remove the accommodation from the question and just sort of discuss food and books, then or not just food and books, but everything else, literally, including travel and so on and so forth, somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 should cover your entire academic year in most cases.
Okay, the sixth question. As Sabancı University is my first choice, after getting the acceptance letter, I discussed with others to get information about the rest of the cost of attendance. Some people said that there is a latent cost which the university doesn't express. If someone gets admitted, then he or she gets informed about it. Is there something like that?
Not really. I'm not sure what that individual might have meant. I am thinking if there is like any extra cost that is not informed, like that is not told to the students in advance. There are some legal procedure costs for like equivalency certificates and residence permit and so on, but these are very small amounts when you look at them as dollar expenses, somewhere around like $200 or something at most. But beyond that, the university will not suddenly, bring about extra costs that we didn't tell you about in advance. So you don't have to worry.
Yeah. Addition to that, we already providing health insurance for free for all students, and we are providing help to students during the residence permit application, and we are providing airport pickup during the orientation week. So we are minimizing all this additional cost for you.
Exactly.
The seventh question from Golan Mustafa. I want to pursue a double major, one in CSE and another in international relations. So is it possible? Can I pursue a double degree from two different faculty?
Yes. Just simply yes, you can. No problem at all.
Yeah, you can try all these combination within any program.
Exactly.
This question 8, if I pursue a double degree, is it possible to go for a study abroad program twice?
Uh, so um, So yes, but not in the way that you're sort of asking. So it is not possible to do like 2 years, for example, of a study program, but you can, like anybody can, do different institutions one semester at a time. So you can go like to, a university in France, and then you can go to a university in Germany, for example, in different semesters. But this is not because you're doing a double degree. This is just the way that the system works. Doing a double degree doesn't give you an additional chance to go somewhere outside the, either one semester or up to fully 1 year exchange programs.
Okay, the next question, question 9. I know it isn't mandatory to learn Turkish to study in Sabancı University. However, if anyone wants to learn being an international student, is there any opportunity extended from the university to learn Turkish, such as optional classes or language club?
Absolutely. We offer free of charge, free credit Turkish courses in the first 2 years of the university, or at least up to 2 years in your university education. So if you want to learn Turkish, you can do so freely. These are not mandatory. You don't have to take these courses. So if you don't want to learn Turkish, you don't have to, as of course all our programs are in English, as we discussed. However, if you want to learn Turkish, you can do so comfortably in the university.
Great. The question 10, do international students stay with Turkish students or separately in a room in the dormitory?
The dorms are shared, so you will be staying in the same dorm rooms alongside Turkish students. So there's no separation.
The question 11, what's the average meal cost at Sabancı University?
Average meal cost at Sabancı University at the moment is around $2.50 to $3 per meal for
Yeah.
like lunch or dinner and for breakfast, somewhere around there.
Okay, great. So we completed this part of question. And the next question from Miras Zengabil. What is the SAT score that can qualify for the high scholarship?
So thank you for the question, Miras. So the SAT scores that would sort of, let's say, be the cutoff point for decent scholarships generally tends to be somewhere around 1300. This would be like the sort of, let's say, possibility point for having like a 50% scholarship, and then higher marks from that would correspond to higher scholarship levels. If you're only asking for like 75 to 100%, then at the very least 1400.
Another question from Nihat Rahimzadeh. To get a better evaluation, is it required to pay the pre-registration fee?
So this is a very good question, Nihat. Thank you. So we do reevaluations, scholarship reevaluations, as I had mentioned before. But of course, this does mean that you are accepted to the university with an offer that has a deadline first. So you don't have to make this fee payment to get a reevaluation. So you don't have to worry. You can get reevaluated without making that payment too. However, in cases in which you get a scholarship that is strong enough, but you might be looking for some extra financial aid, it might make sense to make that pre-registration fee to just secure the earlier offer. Because there are situations in which we make an offer to a student and then we cannot keep that offer active past the deadline. So if the situation is very drastic and you need a higher scholarship or you will not be able to attend Sabancı University at all, you don't have to make that payment. But if you could attend the university, but it would be a little difficult, a better, offer would make things much more comfortable for you and your family. In those kinds of cases, sometimes it is better to make the fee to not risk losing the earlier offer. So that is how I can answer your question. The simple answer to your question is no, you don't have to pay the fee to get an evaluation, but you can sort of consider the, validity of the offer that you received and whether you want to keep that available to you or not.
Okay, the next question from Jawad Kiani. I applied before early scholarship deadline, but I didn't have my final grades yet. Does my application still include early scholarship?
Yes, Javad, it does. That is actually exactly how we consider situations like yours. Because you applied and you showed interest in the university in the early application period, we do give you extension even after the period ends itself.
And the next question from Miba Habte. If we are able to attend the university, will we be assisted in the visa process?
So yes, Mipa, we do assist in the visa processes. Of course, you do the application individually, so we can't apply for you. However, we do assist in the process itself. In the past, like I've been working at the university at this point close to 8 years now. We have not had a visa rejection in this period of time. I'm sorry, close to 7 years, but we have not had a visa rejection in this period of time. And in cases in which we did have visa rejections, we were able to get in touch with the embassy to fix that problem so that our students can continue their studies. So we will assist you and you don't have to worry. This is one of the advantages actually of Sabancı University. The university's recognition is so high and we generally accept quite good students that on visa procedures, we have a much easier path than most other Turkish universities do.
The next question from Rashad. I have accepted 50% scholarship. I have to pay pre-registration fee till 23rd March. Where should I apply to pay less than the current amount?
Thank you for the question, Rashad. So you sadly cannot pay less than that amount. You have to pay that amount to be able to secure your spot. However, if you need more time to, be able to pay the $1,500, we do sometimes extend that deadline. So my recommendation would be just write to the person who was following your application process, and they can guide you about timing. If you need like a couple of extra weeks, we can perhaps look at your application and see if we can give you that time to make that fee payment.
Right. The next question from Nicholas. Hello, I am prospective student with a high GPA and high SAT score. My IELTS score is 8. Also have recommendation from English language instructors and school counselor. Unfortunately, I do not have the TOEFL test. Taking into account my academic merit, would it be possible to apply without the TOEFL examination? The first question.
So unfortunately, you still have to take the TOEFL. The reason there being that the Turkish Ministry of Education, the Turkish government, let's say, has banned the acceptance of the IELTS several years ago. There are some universities in Turkey that accept it. However, they're not supposed to. It is not legal to accept the IELTS actually. So as a result, we cannot accept the IELTS. However, you have a very high IELTS score. This university, when it was able to accept IELTS, was accepting 6 as the passing grade. You have a grade of 8. If you also have a high GPA and high SAT score, so like high grades in the SAT's English side, I'm sure you will have absolutely no problems passing our own English test. Our English test is a little difficult, but it is not 8 out of 9 from the IELTS difficult. So my recommendation would be just apply without the exam. If you get admission, if you get a good scholarship, if you're able to attend Sabancı, at that stage you can make the decision if you want to risk our exam or not. If you don't want to, you could just take the TOEFL. You will have like several months if you apply now, because the university will open in September, October, and we will, ask the TOEFL at that time. So you can just take the TOEFL after admission, or as I said, like most probably you will pass our exam, so you can just do that too.
The second question from Nicholas. I am also curious whether I need to submit another application as a student requiring financial aid. Thank you very much.
So thank you too, Nicholas. No, you don't have to. We only have the one application page, and each application for admission also counts for scholarship applications. So we will evaluate you for a scholarship during the process.
Probably you replied this question, but let me.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay. Then let me skip this one. The next question from Galam Mustafa. As Chan sir said, is the 100% scholarship offered at the last time? What if I apply early? Will I not get 100% scholarship?
So no, Golam. So how the 100% scholarship works is that we shortlist candidates who might be able to get that scholarship, so we can evaluate all of them later in the year. Because as the year goes on, there are certain systems in which grades come out late. For example, there's certain systems in which grades come out in July and late July and so on and so forth. So to give everybody an equal chance of getting a evaluation for a full scholarship, we wait at the end of the year. This doesn't mean that you will not have a scholarship opportunity. You will also be shortlisted if you're interested, if your grades are high enough to be shortlisted. And then once we do the evaluation, we will let everybody know at the end of the year.
Okay, the next question from Azra Emilia. If someone does not qualify for 100% scholarship, are they still considered for any of other lower scholarships?
Thank you again for the question, Azra. Yes, we do consider students for a range of scholarships. So you can mention that you need a 100% scholarship, but you might end up getting a partial scholarship from the university. That is entirely possible. We don't only evaluate students for the specific scholarship that they're interested in and reject them without a scholarship if they don't get that level.
Okay, good. Next question from again Sajida Ahmed. In the near future, I will receive financial support letter. It's official document from the state confirming that it will cover the expenses for my studies. Does that help me in getting an academic acceptance certificate for the university?
So good question. Not really. Of course, it could help, with regards to, the scholarship evaluations and so on and so forth, but you still do have to meet our admission requirements to be able to, apply and get accepted to the university itself. However, I'm imagining that if you're, a good enough student to be able to get the state scholarship, then most likely you will meet our criteria. So I would say don't worry, just apply using your high school grades, and we'll be in touch about your acceptance chances.
Okay, the next question from Maria. Are there on-campus seminars or events for future applicants?
So there are it's a good question. You can come to our campus at any point, Mary, if you want to. We are open, we have an open door policy type of situation. If you want, you can email us before to get let's say a reservation type of thing, because a rendezvous, because it is not always possible for people to be on campus because of the nature of our work. However, you can visit the campus whenever you wish. We can, give you a tour. We can tell you more about the university. So if you're interested in a physical sort of, experience to learn more about the university, you can create that yourself anytime you wish.
The next question from Mr. Muhammad Irfanullah. My son currently doing A-levels in digital media and design and digital BTech media. Is he eligible to apply?
So yes, depends on the number of BTech classes, the grades that he's going to be taking, how many A levels he has gotten, Mr. Muhammad. I would highly recommend that I will share the contact. Once again, let me do so as I answer your question. I will highly recommend that you share the documents that your son has at this point, or the grades that he's going to be having. So we can guide you more in detail. You can send them to the email address you see on the bottom, top left, iro.crm@sabanciuniv.edu. You can email us there and we can guide you, but we do accept BTech, yes.
Great. The next question from Alisha Shahzad. During your studies, does your GPA impact your scholarship?
So I am imagining the question is like, do I lose my scholarship if I have low GPA? No. So the scholarship that you get at the application stage is for the full education period. So it is for 4 years fully. So it will be valid for those 4 years regardless of your GPA. If you study for the 5th year, then it won't be valid at that stage, however. So that is important to know. But there are also scholarships available for active students. So there's merit scholarships and need-based scholarships that you can get while being a student at Sabancı University. These, of course, do depend on your GPA. So if you have a very, very high GPA, for example, at the end of your 1st year, you might get a scholarship that covers the full tuition cost at the university, or helps increase your scholarship level to the next stage. So it is possible to get a better scholarship through a high GPA, but it is not possible to get a worse scholarship through low GPA, if you see what I mean.
Great. Next question from Rania Malik. I want to get an admission in psychology BA. My grades are A, and B, and my TOEFL score is 114. What are my chances of securing a scholarship?
I am imagining those are your A-level scores, Rania. Those are very high. Okay, sorry, you have a second question. AS grades. Okay, so at AS level, those are good grades too. If you have predicted A levels as well, you can submit those during your application stage 2. You have a very good TOEFL score. You will have a chance of, you have a very decent chance of getting a scholarship from the university. The level, of course, depends on other criteria as well. It is not always possible to guarantee a scholarship level directly, but you have good grades. Very, let's say, common sort of, good grades that we get from A-level systems. So you will be a very, likely scholarship candidate at this university.
Again, from Rania, are SATs compulsory to secure a scholarship?
No, not really. So your grades, as I said, are good. If you're aiming for like 100% or 75% scholarship, then at that stage, it might be a good idea to get the SAT to help increase your chances. But even with the AS levels that you mentioned earlier, you will most likely be able to get scholarship from Sabancı.
Okay, the next question from Christian Nagel. It's not a question, but I guess he attached his documents. Probably he sent an email.
Maybe.
Christian Nigla, I remain at your entire disposal for further details and ask you to be kind enough for the assurance of my perfect consideration. If you sent an email, Christian, we will get back to you soon.
Yeah.
So I'm dismissing this question.
Yes, he sent an email.
So
I just saw his email actually.
okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
So from Golan Mustafa, I have applied, successfully got 75% scholarship. How will I know that I have been selected for 100 scholarship candidate?
We will let you know. I believe you did pass on your request to be 100% scholarship to, I think Iran was your point of contact. So she, most likely shortlisted you already. And as the year goes on, when we do evaluations, we will inform you about the results.
Great. The next question from Al-Zubair Abdul Hafid. I have received a scholarship from my country and the state will cover my expenses. Is there a problem? Because my payment by my country may take some time.
Thank you, Al Zubair, for the question. No, that is not a problem at all. Of course, that's a very good thing. Congratulations on receiving a scholarship from your country. Let us know how long it might take. If you're expecting any delays and so on, we can guide you on how to move forward. But we do have, quite a few state scholarship-sponsored students studying at Sabancı. This is no problem whatsoever, so don't worry. Just follow your application processes, get in touch with us, and let us know how we can help you, and we will sort out any problems that the delay might cause, but it will be okay. Don't worry.
Next question from Abdul Malik. Per year, how cost tuition fee for bachelor program and study gap allow?
So Abdul Malik, the tuition fee for our bachelor programs are all the same at $24,500 per academic year. And we do allow for study gaps. Yes, there's no problem if you have a gap in your education. You can still apply to Sabancı University and get evaluated. It will not hurt your application chances one bit.
The next question, Iram is typing the answer, but let me repeat. Hi, is the SAT required to be considered for scholarship, or the local high school examination would be sufficient?
So the SAT is not required for a scholarship. Depending on your grades, you can get a good scholarship with just your local high school exams. If you're aiming for very high scholarships, or if your local high school grades are low, then taking the SAT could help. Once again, man, you can send us your documents and we can guide you on your application chances and give you a even more direct answer based on the grades that you have about whether it would make sense for you to take the SAT or not.
Next question from Fatima Zehra. Does taking English prep year at Sabancı University increase our education period to 5 years?
Exactly, Fatima. Yes, that's exactly how it works. If you end up taking the English prep year, then you study an extra year. I should say up to an extra year, depending on the level. If you are already quite good at the exam at English, but you failed the exam with a very narrow grade, then you only study 1 semester of English, so only like 3-4 months. So it only ends up being 4.5 years. However, if you study English prep from the beginning, then it will be 5 years. Yes.
And also the scholarships are available for the English prep year, right?
Yes, exactly. That's true. Good point, Hassan. The scholarships that we talked about so far they're all given 4+1 year. That 1 year is the optional English prep year. So if you do end up studying in the English year, your scholarship will be valid for that extra year as well.
The next question about the A-levels from Alisha Shahzad. As stated on the website, the university requires grades in 2 A-level subjects. So if someone gets A and B in 2 subjects, but had also given a third and did not secure a good grade in that would be ignored, right?
So unfortunately not. For admission, having 2 subject grades are fine. But if you have a third grade that is low, that might be considered in a scholarship evaluation. Um, However, I should sort of mention one aspect there. The scholarship evaluation looks at everything in your application. So like O levels, AS, A levels, extracurriculars, statement of purpose, letters of recommendation, and so on. And we generally try to focus on the good parts. So don't be worried about your low grade. However, it is not a bad idea if you are worried about that low grade to write a statement of purpose and mention in the statement of purpose why exactly you had a lower grade than you expected in that one subject. If you have 2 A-level grades at like A and B, those are very good. So you can just explain the reason for the lower mark on the other one and you'll be perfectly fine. Don't worry.
The next question from Sajid Ahmed. I'm a Libyan student who got the 2nd ranking nationwide for the secondary education stage during academic year 22-23. What's the possibility of getting an academic acceptance?
Probably pretty high, Sajida. I would highly recommend applying. If you're curious, you can again send us your documents and we can guide you about your chances of acceptance. But with high marks like those, you will have a very high chance of getting admitted. We do accept the national system in Libya as well, so you can just apply with those marks without any problem.
Same question from Al Zubair. He ranked 4th in the country, Libya. And he has the document proven that. Will this increase his acceptance rate?
Yes. Up to the 5th position in Libya, it will increase your chances. After that, no.
That's great. Maria Iscal is asking, I have a predicted IB score of 38 and 1400 on the SAT. What are the chances of me getting a scholarship?
Quite good as well, quite good marks. Of course, let's not turn this into like these are my grades, will I get a scholarship type of situation. Guys, just email us. Let me share the contact screen once again. You send your documents over to us. We'll guide you better on the email side. Trust me. But yeah, like again, those are good grades too. So I'm sure with those marks, you will also have a good chance of getting a good scholarship.
Great. The next question from Miba Habde. Do you have an accelerated program?
No, sadly not. Sabancı University only has like full-time, full-duration bachelor and master's and PhD programs.
The next question from Ahmet Osman. Can I get fully funded undergraduate scholarship with travel, mass, and accommodation?
Sadly not. We have scholarships for fully funding the tuition fee and for the dormitory costs, but not for travel or food costs and things of that sort.
Okay, the next question from Nihat Rahimzadeh. In order to get the scholarship re-evaluation, do I need to submit my application once more, or does it work somehow different?
You don't have to, Nihat. Good question. All you have to do is just get in touch with the person that has followed your application so far, and they will guide you about the scholarship increase procedures. in most cases, you might have to submit like extra documentation, something that supports the reevaluation of your application. But you don't have to apply again. You can just continue on with the same application.
Can, we completed more than 100 questions.
Yes.
Additionally, would you please
Talk
open
more.
would you please open our website so we can show our application link to students once again?
Yes, very good idea. Give me just a second. Let me stop sharing for a moment so I can do that.
By the way, another question from Maria Iscarli. Does a high TOEFL score matter, or is it just to see if the student is able to study in English?
It is just to see. Yeah, I mean the scholarship evaluations and the university admission does not take into consideration your TOEFL grades because we do not require English exams during the admission stage, as we discussed earlier. So we don't make them a part of the consideration criteria, so that it is not unfair to students who do not actually have the exam that we say is optional. So you can apply without TOEFL, without IELTS, and it will not hurt your chances at all. So let me share the screen. One moment. So guys, this is the website for Sabancı University, the main landing page. If you enter from Google, sabanciuniv.edu/en. If you enter the Turkish website, you can click top right here to change the language. It'll say en there, of course, for English. Once you're here, you can reach the application page from the quick links on the top right directly. Apply to undergraduate admissions. So just, quick links, apply to undergraduate admissions. But you can also just go to our own website from the international tab and click on international candidates, which will take you to the landing page for the international office itself, in which you can find much more information. Once again, you can find the link to apply on the top of the screen, but there's also information about application requirements, self to apply, scholarship, tuition fee, practically everything that we have covered so far in this webinar. The website for that is iro.sabanciuniv.edu. So from that page, you can find even more information about how to apply. So that's the way to go.
Okay, I guess we completed all the questions. 100 questions are answered. Thank you guys for your attending this webinar, and thank you, Mr. Chan and dear Iram, my colleague. So I wish you a lovely weekend for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some more questions. So please just reach us from our mail, guys. Then we can give you further information individually. I mean, in your cases, actually.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for listening, and hope to see you at Sabancı in fall or sooner than that if you visit the campus. And have a lovely rest of your weekend.